May 25th, 2017. The SS Persistance has been raised up a bit higher in preparation for the arrival of the trailer to put her on. All's been painted, repainted all the top side. Condensers all put together, rudder is on, zincs are on, propeller is on. Stern view, same. And home port. Spelling and home port are a bit of a family joke. If one has ever been to Belmont, Nevada, you'll understand why it's a joke for it to be the home port. And as far as the spelling on the name goes, my dad's mentor, George Sandin, got him into steam. Always said that everything's got to be just a little bit crooked. Just meaning nothing can be absolutely perfect. And that's kind of the going theme. Hand-operated anchor windlass with hawse pipe.
Weighing anchor aboard the Steamboat Persistance. This is why we do it on the ground, because stuff gets stuck. You're going to have to make panic on the water. Start. Welcome to the Steamboat Persistance. 13 years in the making. We come in to do the bridge. I'll show you around. This is the bridge. Everything is fabricated, so we got windows that lift out for cooling and for a quick escape. These are glass. The rest of the windows are plexiglass. We have a forward-looking sonar that supposedly is going to give us a little bit of a moment to not run aground. We have a cute little military compass here that is dismountable. And we have to get into the underneath the bridge part. We have an honest-to-goodness engine room telegraph. This is a serious operation. This is not a toy. This is a boat that you have to have an engineer and a coxswain. It's answerable from the engine room. You have a handsome steering wheel here, a footrest, and movable benches here. You can sleep a kid on it or change a diaper on that if you have to. This goes down into the forecastle here. The hatches. This hatch goes forward to access the ladder down into the forecastle there. It's very roomy and it's not finished, obviously. The anchor chain is forward there. There's a knot at the end of the anchor chain, and I've got it cabled to a frame down there, and just in case you run into water that's deeper than 100 feet. And of course it's real tricky to close it. Nothing is fancy on this boat. It's simple and usable. To get to the head that's forward there, this opens up. There's a ladder straight down there. You can see possibly with the rungs there, and that's the forward part of the boiler. This is all storage space on top, in the overhead of the boiler. This is, this will be boxed in. This is the galley. It has nothing been hooked up yet, the water or the stove. We use a small gas bottle to fit in that drawer with a flexible hose to run the stove, so you don't have a lot of propane on board. Propane is very dangerous. You don't want that on board of any kind. And of course the sink. Everything is a little bit high for reasons I won't bother going into right now. But this is the escape pipe. This is slightly movable. It's flexible, so when the regular stack gets put on, we hook up the escape pipe, the whistle pipe over here, and this black thing sticking up, that's the venturi for the stack blower. It's about a 1/4-inch hole that comes out of the top of the boiler with a valve, and it's probably a little bit large, but if you get a flame out, if you're burning oil, you want to evacuate that unburned gas as fast as you can, and that will do everything to blow the spark arrestor off of the top of this thing when it goes. Okay, so here's the auxiliary steering station. In case the coxswain has to go to the bathroom, the engineer can get up here and steer. If you look at the forward wheel, it's turning at the same rate. This is cable steered, no hydraulics. I wanted to make it as simple as possible for anybody who took over this thing, that you don't have to be a specialist to run it. Anybody can run it with a few minutes of instruction. Fairly simple. It's just like it's a miniature steamship. No hydraulics or anything on it, so we'll show you the detail here as I go down in the engine room. And turn the lights on to show off my chief engineer's handiwork. Let's see if I can figure out where they are.
Yeah, turn all the batteries on.
Both of them or just one?
Both.
Okay, so the batteries are on. That thing needs to be screwed in a little tighter. And cabin lights. That's forward. You see the cabin lights forward?
Shut them off and turn them on again?
Now we have a switch that isolates the red
Okay.
from the white. So if you're running at night, you don't want to have your night vision ruined, turn the white off.
Okay.
Turn them off. What is PPL? What is that?
That's the four peak light.
Oh, okay, you got the. There's the engine room lights, running lights there. I'm going to turn on these other lights
Good.
for the sake of draining the battery so you can see better. But you can see the boiler now. It's a water tube boiler. There's about 100 square feet of heating surface in it and 40 square feet of economizer, which sits on the top of the tube nest. This is the manifold for the auxiliaries. They're all color coordinated. The light blue is the condensate pump. The red is the fuel pump. The green is the dynamo. And the yellow is the auxiliary feed pump. And you can see that it especially goes around the side. But getting back to the steering, we used a constant velocity U-joint, and it goes down into this piece of pipe about that far for adjustment. And you can see it's hooked to a bevel gear down here to the auxiliary steering, and then a cable with 2 drums underneath that runs back to a tiller, to the rudder. Since you've got over there with the light and with the camera, we've got naked water tanks on either side of the boiler. We've got, I forget how many gallons now in that. It was a 70-gallon tank we cut up, so there's about 40 on this side and 30 on this side, and about 50 on the thwart ship makeup tank forward there in that plastic tank. And then in the hot well, we've got 40 gallons in there, so we've got plenty of fresh water. We can go a long ways with that. On this side, from the forward working back, we have a hand. This is the hand soot blower, the lance. Everybody should have that in their boiler.
Show us the lance again.
This is the steam lance. You open the firebox door and you turn the steam on and you blow the soot out of it. This blows the soot from that tip. It blows the soot out of the boiler. What you want to do with the wind blowing hard from the beam, and do it at night or someplace where nobody is, you're not going to bother anybody. So, this green pump is a hand feed pump. We have 2 hand feed pumps. We also have the engine driven feed pumps, the injector, and the steam feed pump, the auxiliary feed pump. So we've got 5 ways of getting water into the boiler. Actually 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 with the injector. Oh, 5, right? Did I count right? Anyway, this is the auxiliary feed pump, and it's also plumbed for bilge for it, as a transfer pump from the makeup tanks into the hot well. So it's kind of an all-purpose general service pump. If for some reason something goes wrong with the pumps on this side of the engine, the main feed pump and the main air pump, these auxiliaries will take over. And this one with the blue handle, which is the condensate pump and the bilge pump. It's plumbed for that, and I've got nipples for other places that can pump elsewhere. You have an overside pump also, or plumb to pump overside also. And this is the dynamo. That's just been hooked up not too long ago. This is to charge the batteries when they're not at shore power, or if I'm making too much steam, or we're just sitting there anchored and want to play with it. It's a simple single cylinder, 5 horsepower that I hooked up. A friend of mine sold me the whole thing with the flyball governor on it, and he says it's quite a steam hog, so we haven't really tried it out yet. And I got it hooked to a regular, I think it's forget what year it is, 80s or late 70s or early 80s, brand new alternator. And that's hooked up, the wiring goes on behind this bulkhead, and it goes on over to the switch box. So this is a shroud that goes over, keeps water off the dynamo or off the alternator, and kind of keeps people's fingers out of the moving parts. At least it's supposed to. Sits like that somehow, sort of give you an idea. The Wesley's gone over the coupler before, so this is the main engine. You've seen videos of that. What else hasn't been shown on here? Everything's pretty much
Hot well.
this is the hot well, and we've got several lines coming into that. This line right here, a small one. It's a feed water bypass valve, and I got a 200-pound small safety valve on that in case we overdo the pressure. It'll pop off. This line comes. This is the condensate return line, and this is the hot well, or the hot well bypass, and it's float operated, float bypass, and then the condensate, of course, comes into this line from the auxiliary condensate, and the main condensate comes in through this line, and then it's not hooked up right now. There's a makeup pipe that goes into this, comes in like this. Everything's hooked up with rubber hoses right now, so nothing's really hard plumbed except this, because I had some copper pipe. That's the only reason that's not got a rubber hose on it. It looks pretty. So everything goes in the hot well there. There's 3 chambers. It's filtered through loofah sponges and whatever other filtering devices I can find. And there's the sight glass, just rubber, or just plastic tube for the sight glass. Nothing fancy there. Valves on either end to drain and to fill the tank. It's quite involved, the procedure for getting started. I'm just in the process of writing that up and finding out how many valves there are to open and close. So these doors, I don't know if it was mentioned before, but on the side this will be open when we're running in the Delta. Those are weather doors. I put those on there so we could have everything all boxed up, be able to work in this thing in the wintertime. And I got so tired of shoveling snow off of this before we had the top on it that I wanted to have something that was fully enclosed. And so that's why you see the configuration the way it is. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, a miniature mosquito fleet steamer or a little coastal steamer were kind of the lines I was looking for. And this is the electric box. This is where all the brains are. And this turned out to be quite the job. And we're still waiting for a couple of parts to get this thing going, but it's between Wesley and a couple other friends, we got this thing. Looks pretty darn impressive. Except this thing fell out. That's not supposed to do that, is it? Oh, we've got long screws.
It's not screwed in yet.
Yeah, okay. Got long screws for that, so that just shuts the batteries off. So this is the brains here. This is an isolation transformer. When you have a steel hull, I found out the hard way that to keep your hull from dissolving, if there's stray juice in it, you need one of these with a steel hull. So that was a $2,500 item that I didn't expect. So then this goes into the battery charger. The battery charger, of course, goes to the battery, and everything is a 12-volt system. So we've got lots of lights. We can see what's going on. It's really easy to work on. Everything was kind of designed so that it was going to be just that. It was going to be easy to work on and nothing in an impossible place. A couple things on it, but for the most part, it's fairly simple. I'm just going to leave this open where I stand here.
Okay.
I'm going to electrocute myself. And then,
Got fuel tanks back here. How many fuel tanks?
Fuel tank or makeup water. We
Yeah.
haven't decided yet. If we burn solid fuel, those are just going to be makeup water tanks. Now the boiler front, it's an interesting burner in it. This is what you may have seen those booms they burn weeds with on the side of the county roads. That's the only thing I can think what this thing is. And it'll throw a flame 8 feet, and it sounds like a jet engine when it's going off. So boy, does it get steam up quick. And it's a very nice setup. 15 pounds with kerosene in it, 15 pounds per square inch. I just opened this needle valve and angstrom, and it fairly roars. And this is I like this little setup. Once again, it's nothing fancy, but remember how hard it is to keep your damper door at the right position you like? Well, I had a bunch of these aluminum valve handles, and I just put a chain on it, and you just wrap the chain up. You can't shut it fast, but fast enough. Inordinately proud of that. So let's see, what else?
Soot blowers, burners.
Okay, we have soot blowers on either side. Right now they're copper pipes. It's a piece of pipe that runs the length of the boiler. You open the soot blower valve on top here, for whichever one you want, and then it's got a bunch of holes drilled in it, 1/8" holes, and air ripping up that way. So you just push it this way and pull it and rotate it back and forth, wearing great big heavy gloves, of course, when you're doing this, and that cleans the tubes out.
That's
in
in lieu of using the steam lamps.
Yeah, and that's just a quick thing. Every hour you can do it or change the watch, whatever you want to do it. And same thing here. This thing comes like this and moves back and forth just enough to catch the spaces between the generating tubes. And
Steam atomizing burners.
okay, we have 2 steam atomizing burners. Right now they're Williams type burners. You can see those in steamboats and modern steam launches. Well, this one is. The other one is a different kind that Dick Vinovich made. The insulated line, of course, is, well, the fuel, if we're going to burn fuel, comes down gravity feed, drops into these, through this red valve down to this manifold. Then the burners are adjusted through these little, very tight valves here. Oops, you better not screw with that. And so the oil comes down here into the manifold, drops down into the port and starboard burners, And this is just to keep the noise down, because the continual hissing of steam is give you a headache after a while. And so the steam line, the steam atomizer, of course, the steam line is here, and it's adjusted right here with this valve here. A friend of mine is going to make us a automatic steam adjusting valve, but right now it's manual. The problem with it is steam is about 300 degrees, 350, well actually more than that, close to 1,000 degrees when it gets into this area. Maybe not 1,000, but
superheated.
about 800 anyway. And haven't found anything that's strong enough to withstand the temperature on this little gland right there, so we're always leaking steam out of there. So that atomizes the oil, and we have one on either side. And the other one is one of Rennermic's design and Wesley's make. So we'll see. That's not a needle valve here. That's a drain valve. That's a drain cock.
Keep with the.
It opens up. We need to change
Let's stop chasing squirrels.
And I don't think you can see it in there. No, you can't. It's a different kind, but similar theory behind it. It atomizes the steam. And of course, we have the gauge glass. This is automatic shutting. If the glass breaks, it's got ball valves in it, so it shuts. So these, when you have something like that type of gauge, these are opened all the way. The idea being that it could shut the valve quickly with the ball valve in it. For one that doesn't have that feature, you should just barely crack it open and make sure that your water level is always moving up and down just a little bit. This is the pressure gauge manifold here. That thing you want to shut way down too, so you just get enough steam past it to make the needle move. You don't want to melt anything or break something with the surge in pressure. The gauge board steam valve goes up here along the main steam line to a pigtail to the main gauge. This is the vacuum gauge. That's hooked back in the back of the engine, and this little copper line goes everywhere, and it hooked up to the back column on the engine here. This is a feed line pressure gauge. I haven't hooked that up yet. That's going to be on the side of the boiler with the someday to come automatic water level. Okay, so going forward, I guess I can turn off the engine lights. What am I doing?
You're turning lights on. There you go.
Okay, so we want one's one for the head.
The one right above. Oh, right above. Yeah. No, sorry. The next one down. There you go.
Okay, so the boiler lights here are the strip lights, LED strip lights, and you can see they're wonderfully bright. And I've noticed in lots of videos that the dimmer the engine room is, the dirtier it is. So the brighter it is, you can't hide from the lights. So this is the main stack. I've got we have a damper in it. It just kind of keeps the heat in. It's not real tight, but it just kind of conserves a little bit of the heat. Have to remember to keep that open and closed. This is the whistle valve for steam on the. No, I'll take it back.
That's stack blower.
This is the stack blower valve
This
here.
is the whistle.
Yeah, it's the whistle valve there. And I put it inside because I didn't want the stack to look all cluttered, and I didn't want to have to poke any more holes in the cabin top than I had to. So that's why I put it down here, and it'll be lots of hot water blowing up on the upper deck, but generally nobody's out there. So, and if you have to work on it, you can work on it. And here's the main steam stop. Safety valve set for 150 pounds, and it's a 1-inch orifice. Seems to work pretty good. We've tried it a couple of times. The only thing I don't have on here is a temperature gauge. I want to put a temperature gauge on it.
On the stack?
On the stack, yes. So this is the main steam stop valve. This is a gravity tank for the fuel, in case you burn fuel or oil. And this is this is our bathroom here right now. We haven't, we're trying to get this thing in the water. We're not trying to get it completely finished because I'm getting too old. I don't have time to waste. So we got a porta potty. And the dock we're renting has toilets and the shower at the dock. So if you ever come for a ride with us, go to the bathroom first. And I showed you this hatch before, I think. Well, here, let's go over to the engine room telegraph control. This was.
Okay.
This is the engine room telegraph control. I used bicycle chain and the little sprockets from multi-speed bicycles. So it makes a couple of nasty turns. It goes up from the bridge that you saw before, drops straight down, makes a 90-degree turn, and then comes back up to get out of the way to a couple more of those sprockets. And rather than cable, I use steel rods so they're not going to stretch out. And forget what they're called all of a sudden. Tighten or tensioners, whatever. Turnbuckles. Little turnbuckles on it. So I can, as you can see, they're kind of loose. And what I can do, because it's a steel rod, I can just bend a U in that and take up the slack. But right now it's adjusted so that it's pretty comfortable with the bridge telegraph and the engine room telegraph. It hasn't been any dramatic changes. You'll see some of those in the videos where the engineer wouldn't quite be sure exactly what coxswain is trying to tell him. So I want to make sure that that's accurate. Now the boiler front here is an interesting setup. The green line is the water from the main feed pumps, from the engine-driven feed pumps. Comes in. The yellow line is the auxiliary feed pumps. So they come up to the red and yellow line to the top of the boiler. This is the feed line to the economizer. It's in two banks. There's like 20 square feet on either side. 3/4 inch pipe with Schedule 80 return bends. This is a 45. You imagine something that's a U-shaped bend. Thing is probably put $1,000 of the pipe in it, and it's pretty darn heavy. But we've got couplers or unions that we can take it apart and pull it out if we have to. God forbid we should ever have to do that. So this is you fill the water up. And this is your top blow, okay? When you're, we've been reading and found out that most of the nasty...
Let's finish talking about the economizer.
Yeah,
Then
the
we'll go over
economizer
the top,
first,
then
okay.
we'll go over the top blow.
Okay. So the economizer goes through these pipes and to the cool part, and as it goes down closer and closer to the fire, it comes out on this main line here. It goes down through here, and yes, I know it looks funky. I didn't like that. I don't like the U in it like that, but we had to have a check valve in there somewhere, and you want a valve that's going to isolate everything from everything too. So you come down, this is hot water, comes through this valve, and we'll get to that valve in a second, why that's there, and back up through the check valve and up to the isolation valve, the main feed line. This is always kept open, and then it goes into the boiler. Now this bears a little explanation why it's set up like this. In the event the economizer fails, burns out for whatever reason, this line, this valve is shut off. This isolates the economizer. You turn this valve, you close this valve, then you go down and you close this valve. That shuts off the main water through the economizer. Remember, went up through here and then through the economizer tubes and then back down and then back up to the boiler, right? So there's something wrong with the economizer. So we just isolated that with this valve. We shut that off. Now we come down to the red valve and you turn that on. You open that and that pulls water from the green or the yellow directly into the boiler. It's going to slow you down dramatically because you're suddenly putting cold water into the boiler. So if something like that happens, you're looking to go back home real fast. But God forbid anything should happen like that if you take care of it, okay? So when everything isn't working properly, the main feed line is open. This main feed line is open to the economizer. And remember, this is hot water going through the system. And then this valve down here drains the system. Goes into a bucket and blows in the bilge or put it in a bucket there. This is just a regular ball valve. This is a ball valve here. This is shut off. This is shut off when you're using the green line, the main feed from the pump, from the main engine pump. If something happens with that pump, or you have to work on it for any reason, then you close this ball valve and open this one, and you're on the auxiliaries. These check valves are one way, just gate valves, so the water goes this way and it doesn't go back towards the pumps. Okay, when you're done with everything, or you need to blow it down, I've got a quick open blow down valve here. It's in a closed position right now. To open it, you shove it all the way down, and then you make sure the sea cock is open. I did it through the hull because I didn't want to blow crap all over anybody's boat next door. You see guys do that all the time, and it makes for hard feelings. So I plumbed it through the bottom and just blow murky water into the sea. And it's just this globe valve is just another safety device that keeps it from overdoing or leaking out. I put this on it because I was gonna rig a antifreeze setup on it, and in the wintertime to put antifreeze in it. You know how water sits on the low spots all the time. If you don't get the boiler hot enough to dry that out, you'll get those rusty spots in the bottom of the pipe. And I thought the antifreeze is good for car engines. It ought to be good enough for a boiler to protect that. And then it's just a matter of flushing it out a little bit. You can use the RV antifreeze in it. Anything would work. In fact, just green alcohol would work too if you had a big still. Okay, now going back to the boiler in the front here, to the operating procedures. You lit your fire. As the water starts to warm up, oxygen and other gases begin driven off the water, and they lay close to the surface. A lot of us, I used to do it all the time too, I'd open this whistle valve, I'd open everything up and thinking that everything was going to go up and out. Well, it doesn't do that apparently. So the nasty stuff, the oxygen mostly, just lays just above the water. So this is the surface blow. This blows off that oxygen. As it gets, pressure builds up, it's going to blow down there. And there's always crap, excuse me, floating on the top of the water. Bits of rust and all sorts of things that can get into your main steam line, which you don't want. So you let that, you open that up wide, let steam cart blowing into the bucket, and then you know, most of the oxygen is driven off. Now what I like to do is close it and build up some pressure, a couple pounds, 10 pounds maybe, and open it up and really blow the junk off of it, blow the crap off of it. Operating level is going to be right about the middle of the steam drum anyhow. So if we're getting water blowing out of this, it's carrying over, and we're going to blow off until we get mostly steam in there, and then we can shut it and we can start building up steam properly. These are tricocks in case the water glass breaks. Normally they should be in the operating side of the boiler, but since it was too cluttered up there, we decided to put them back here. And if you open it up at this level, you should get steam and maybe a little bit of water, wet steam anyway here, and you should just get water down at this lower one. Typically on a vertical fire tube boiler or a Scotch boiler too, you'll have 3 of these. One would be the operating level, which you get wet steam out of, and then the top one where you're pulling steam out, you get dry steam, and then the bottom you get water. So that's how you operate the boiler if your glass is broken. I've labeled everything. The main steam stop valve is this one. It's an inch and let's see, what is this? 1.1 goes to the engine.
1.5 inches.
Well, line is 1.5 inches, but going into the engine an 1.8 inches. It comes down in here. There's an 1.5 inch stainless steel pipe that goes down into the firebox. You probably saw it to the steam dryer. Well, it's not. It's a superheater by any stretch of the imagination, but it goes to that firebox that is furiously hot. Just makes a single pass through it, so it's going to dry it, and then it comes up. So hopefully any condensate that or carryover, anything in there is going to fall back down and drop down in that line and would be evaporated. So this goes up to the main engine and back over here, and then this great huge clunky ugly thing here is a strainer. So when I'm steaming up, and the bloody thing is really tight, so I need to make sure it's loosened up. These ball valves are not ball valves, these shut-off cocks are infamous for a problem. It's just a taper. If you have problems with it opening and closing, don't force these things. So just loosen that nut and tap on it with a lead hammer or something, or a brass hammer, and just loosen it up a little bit. Don't do a steam on it. Make sure it's cold when you're doing it. And then put Never-Seez on it or something so that it works freely. Anyway, if it gets steam in here, remember there's going to be condensate coming through it all the time. So if there's any carryover, it'll catch in this strainer. There's a screen inside the strainer. And I just leave that open, and in no time at all, it'll start blowing steam into the bilge. And so I know that it's steam and water. And once it starts to get mostly steam, then I'll close it. And I'll go over to the main steam line here. I'm going to have the throttle open just a crack. The main steam stop will be open. The bypass valve will be open. This bypasses from the main steam line into the low pressure steam chest. This is, there's a lot of cast iron here. You don't want to heat this thing up real fast because you crack something. So when you're getting steam up, open the main steam line and let steam come through this thing whole time. So let it warm up with the boiler, and so you get it all hot. You're not wasting any water. You're going to recover it, or if you're going to lose that much water, then it's not that big a deal. All the drain cocks on the engine are open so that steam is going through everything. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drain cocks. I'm going to turn the lights on again. And so we're draining everything out. And what I did is I plumbed everything into the bilge, or not the bilge, but the condenser. This engine was originally designed to be jet condensing in fresh water, built by the Doty Engine Company, and they made them for ships that ran on the Great Lakes up in Canada, so they're all freshwater. So what I did is I plumbed it to go into the low pressure column was the condenser. Now what it does is, I'll have to go back to the back of the engine, I'll show you. Shoot. Unhook those or something. So the drain cocks come to this copper pipe here. I don't know if you can see it. It comes into this cap that goes into this back column. Now this back column before was the condenser, so it had a jet here, and the jet would spray fresh water and cause the steam to collapse. And then the pump would be similar to this, except rather than go into a condenser under the hull, this line here, it would go overboard. Since they were running in fresh water, it didn't matter. They didn't have to have a hot well. They could just pump it overboard and suck water right out of the lakes. So as you're heating up, you're adjusting your oil. I've got needle valves on this. I made this myself. It's not real pretty, but it's effective. Just a piece of brass pipe with a key, and almost everything is made. And just a bunch of needle valves. You can get everything. Try to make everything that you can buy off the shelf that's available today. I didn't want to have anything fancy that was so terribly antique-y that you'd never be able to get it at a decent price. So, and there's nothing fancy with the oil reservoirs. They just happen to be handy and not really big and clunky looking, so that's why I put those on. Let's see. So everything that's not moving a lot is oiled with these fixed oil lines. The main bearings, the crosshead guides or the slippers, the crossheads, and the main bearing or the connecting rod bearing. Those are all lubricated to the little cups in the front, and then the walking beam is lubricated with these little drip cups here, or the bearings, and then this is just smeared with Vaseline or grease on the feed pumps. This is the air pump, and these are the two feed pumps. This is 3/4 inch stainless steel rams that pump water into the boiler. Now, everything is dismountable. We put unions on everything so that I could take it off. So this whole unit, from this point all back with all these check valves, is designed to be able to take the floor plates off. I can drop the whole thing down and work on it if I have to. The feed pump rams can be taken off with these clamps, so they're just clamped on there. So this whole assembly is clamped tight. Once the pipes are hooked together with the unions, everything is clamped with these four clamps, 2 on either side, so that holds everything together. So it exhausts into this 3-inch diameter pipe and goes into the keel condenser, which runs about maybe 12 inches beyond this tank on the other side of it. Drops down underneath the deck. There's 10-foot long, 1-inch diameter copper pipes in a keel condenser. So there's about 20 square feet of cooling surface on that. It runs this way, and then it's picked up at this point from this manifold and a check valve, and it's with this 3-way valve here, and I need to check them all of that, make sure it doesn't fall off. It's the bright shiny one there. That means the main engine is doing the suction. When this is turned so the bright is going this way, the auxiliaries are doing the suction. So if something happens to this pump here, we're having to work on the pump, we turn this and run it over to the auxiliary condensate pump. And try to put the line all, again, rubber hoses wherever possible underneath the decks to make it not so cluttered, but all the deck plates come up real easily. They're wooden with rubber diamond plate pattern on them, so they're not slippery, you won't slip on them, but they're starting to get kind of dirty now. They were pretty when they were brand new. You look at some of the early videos, the pictures, they look pretty nice. But everything gets dirty. The reason I did that rubber like that was, I'll show you and demonstrate graphically here in a second.
We're running out of space.
Okay. When you drop a wrench on a steel floor plate, you gotta break your eardrums. The rubber floor plate is nice, it doesn't make the noise. And you can see that it takes some wiggling to get them in there, but hopefully when you're running, everything will be nice and tight. Let's go back to the auxiliary pump.
We have 3 minutes.
The main pump, we put drains or snifter valves on the top of these check valves, because oftentimes, usually with the intake valve, you'll get an air bubble in it, and you will not feed to save your life. What this does is you open that up and it'll let that air bubble out. That's what that's for. And there's supposed to be 4 of them on there, but the third one on the back side, there wasn't enough room for it. So that's what those little valves are for, in case anybody wonders. And this pipe here is the water hammer discourager. Attenuator, yeah. Ideally, it would be filled with 1-inch closed cell foam rubber balls. Because there's more of this thing rams in there, the water gets saturated with the air, and so every so often you've got to drain it out. So you open the top valve and you open the bottom valve to drain it out, And again, this is one of those tapered valves that's tighter than a tick. This is the man overboard drill. Time to get the doors open. Cunning and cannily designed to keep the snow out. Okay, this is the table that we're going to use one of the doors for. This is one of the weather doors. We just pick it up. Everything's movable. Set that on top of it. Put a tablecloth on it. And we're set to go.
And it all breaks down. The whole table breaks down into 5 pieces.
Thank you very much for watching. And when we get this thing on the water, I want you all to come visit us so we can give you a ride.